Hello, family. Welcome to David Ocean Podcast. In today's podcast, we are privileged to have Mr. Ugonna Ginigeme, the CEO of Feegor, a B2B e-commerce company that leverages technology to connect retailers to manufacturers and wholesalers. It's a great pleasure to have Mr. Ugonna in the house, and he's going to be sharing with us from his experience as a two-time founder, the role that Feegor is playing in the e-commerce sector in Nigeria. Join me and enjoy the podcast. I've been, seeing great work you've been doing, and it's been an awesome work. Even with the last recognition that you had, and what Feegor is doing in the e-commerce space. So I want you to just tell me about yourself personally, and what drove you into being an entrepreneur.
Okay, thanks, David, for having me. My name is Ugonna. I'm a two-time founder with over a decade of experience across the retail value chain. So basically, I've played in all sectors of the retail value chain, from manufacturing to distribution across multiple countries to even running small-scale retail businesses as a student entrepreneur. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've also played extensively in the tech space, B2B and B2C e-commerce, and a couple of other sectors like that. But by training, I'm an engineer. So I actually studied industrial and production engineering at the University of Ibadan. Um, I think of myself as a born entrepreneur because right from my very early childhood days, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know I was going to be a tech founder because tech was not in the picture. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to do stuff in manufacturing, build my own FMCG company, be an importer and exporter as well, also play in the oil field. So that was my ambition as a child, and I think just that entrepreneurial nature led me to launch a couple of businesses while I was in the university. And unfortunately, most of those businesses failed. I struggled with many of them over time, and it was my struggles with my personal businesses at the time as a student entrepreneur that led me to found Varsity, which was my first startup back in 2015. So and ran Varsity for a couple of years. The insights learned from running Varsity and building Varsity basically led us to Feegor, because we're able to understand challenges SMEs were facing as regards product sourcing and how big of a problem it was. And nobody was really fixing the product sourcing challenges the right way. And so we decided to build a company to solve that massive problem for millions of SMEs in Nigeria and across Africa.
Starting off into Feegor as a company, what led you into building Feegor?
So it was basically the insights we saw building Varsity. So Varsity at the time was a B2B and B2C company. We were more focused on B2B, business to business, B2C, business to customer, right, or business to consumer. But we're more focused at the time on the B2. We're more focused on the time on the B2C part of Varsity, right? In fact, we were more positioned as a B2C brand, but actually, what we were trying to do at the time was to build a digital infrastructure that can drive retail transactions end to end for stakeholders. So what that meant was we're building like a super application that would consist of multiple independent but interconnected applications for retail stakeholders, right? And this meant we had basically different platforms all in one, right? And but what we saw basically was we're gaining the most traction from the B2B part of it. So a lot of the retailers and SMEs that were leveraging our infrastructure at the time were more interested in buying products in bulk from suppliers through us, through the Varsity Wholesale Center. Then that's what we called it, right? And even though we're focused more on the Varsity Marketplace, which is basically enabling consumer source goods from retailers, we saw a lot of traction from the B2B part of it, from the wholesale center. So we knew that this was a very big problem. And because I had also played in that space, in manufacturing, in wholesale distribution, and even in running small scale retail businesses, I could see how that was a major pain point for the SMEs trying to source goods, and how that was a major opportunity as well for the distributors and the suppliers who are looking for more channels and more innovative ways to sell in bulk. So it was basically all of these factors put together. There were some other factors as well, but these were the major ones that helped us to understand the gap in the market and the market in the gap. And basically, that's why we decided to build Feegor to solve this massive problem.
Yes, you've been into some accelerator programs. Has these programs been able to shape how Figo has been received in the market?
Okay, so that's a good question. Yes, from varsity days, we've attended a lot of interesting accelerator programs over with Figo as well. So one thing I believe is that learning is continuous. You never stop learning, especially if you're a leader. Leadership and learning go hand in hand, right? So for you to be successful, you must always learn, you must unlearn, and you must relearn. And I think a lot of these accelerator programs, amongst many other things, really help you to think, really teach you new concepts, teach you new things. Many times you're fortunate enough to learn from established players in the ecosystem, either established founders, investors, even established players in the traditional, what you can call the traditional ecosystem, right? People who have built really successful companies. And so you're able to learn, gain insights from their wealth of knowledge, learn from their real life experiences. You're also exposed to new concepts. It helps you to avoid certain mistakes that you could have made. So, all in all, I think it's been very helpful in shaping the way we think, the way we execute, the way we plan, the way we strategize, the way we build, the way we manage our team, and many other aspects of our business. So I'll say yeah, it's been quite helpful. And I would also encourage other founders to leverage those opportunities if they are able to.
That's interesting. Now, I want to know for Figo, what has been the major challenge you've been facing, like currently in the Nigerian market space now?
Okay, so I mean, there are a couple of challenges every founder or every company faces. You can think of challenges from the point of fundraising or funding. Fortunately, funding is quite challenging, and you need funding to scale. So that could be a challenge. You can think of challenge from the point of talent. All right. As a startup, you're competing for talent with other startups and with established local and global companies, right? So of course that's a major challenge because you can't build the company alone, and the team you build is the company you build. So finding the right talent who would key into the vision, who will be passionate, committed, resilient to build this company with you is also a challenge in some areas, right? So I could say fundraising, I could say talent as well. Those are just a few of the challenges that I could speak about for now.
In terms of fundraising, like how much have you been able to raise for Figo for now?
We've raised. I don't want to speak about that for now. I don't want to speak about that, but we are doing okay.
Okay, so yes, it's not public yet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then, in terms of talent, what's your philosophy about the kind of talents that you want to work with? What are the things you look out for? And what are the key trends you've observed in talent recruiting for some time now?
Okay, so there are two major things we look out for when it comes to talent, and it's attitude and skill, right? Attitude, as we've seen, is more important than skill, right? Skill can be learned, attitude cannot. So if you have people with the wrong attitude, and what is attitude? The way they think about their work, the way they communicate, the way they show up, the level of resilience they have, the amount of zeal they bring to their work, the their willingness to want to learn, right? Their ability to take feedback. All of these things, their interpersonal skills, their leadership skills, all of these things form attitude. All of these things make up the attitude of a person, right? And then the actual skill set. So most times there's a gap. You see a lot of people who are not willing to bring in that attitude, who are not willing to put their best foot forward, who are not willing to learn, who are not open to new ideas, who are not, willing to grow. They just want things to happen overnight. They want to do the least possible work and get the maximum possible result. But the truth is, hard work always comes before success. You need to grind, you need to learn, you need to be patient, you need to grow. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of people willing to do that now. And sometimes the people who might even be willing to do that, they are just not, they just don't, sometimes they don't have the skill sets for the level they are trying to coming out. So, for example, you see somebody who should be thinking about being an entry level position, but because the person has 1 year experience or 2 years experience, they're talking about being a manager or a lead, and they just don't have what it takes. So, they may have the right attitude in some aspect, but you still need to be patient and you need to still grow into the role. So yeah, these are some of the challenges we've seen. Also, for us at Feegor specifically, we are also very keen about people who key into our core values and who possess traits that are aligned with our core values. So our core values are summed up as dope. So yeah, you have to be a dope person. So D is disciplined. You have to be disciplined. O, ownership. You have to take ownership of your work and of everything. P is professionalism. You have to be professional, have the right attitude towards work. And E is excellence. You have to drive for excellence, focus on the results, and say no to mediocrity of any kind.
Mm, excellent. Apart from Nigeria, now what market are you in Africa? Are you planning to get into in a couple of maybe 1 year or 2 years from now?
So for now, we're in the next 1 2 years, we are still very much in the Nigerian market. We are building for Africa, but we are starting with Nigeria, and it's very important that we become a market leader in the Nigerian market before we expand. So, because once we start expanding, we are going to expand fast, right? So we need to make sure we have all of the systems, structures, processes, people, financials on ground for us to expand. So for now and in the short term, we're still in the Nigerian market.
For young entrepreneurs and founders who are trying to build a startup, what would you want to tell them to watch out for currently?
Don't do it. I'm playing. But really, I feel like building a startup is really difficult. Like it's really difficult. Forget all the glitz and glamour and everything you see out there.
Yeah,
You're
because
going
you're a
to,
two-time founder, so you should probably be able to tell us something good.
yeah. So building a startup would require sacrifices. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot, much more than you can imagine, right? It requires a lot of sacrifices. It requires what I like to call unusual resilience because it's going to test you in ways you will not foresee, right? It's really going to test you. So are you willing to sacrifice all that is needed? Are you willing to, you know, show up every day with resilience, promise yourself you're not going to give up, grind harder than almost anybody else. Because the way to think about it for most startups is you're doing something that has not been done. You're building something from nothing, right? You're trying to go from zero to one. So it's really, really very difficult. Unfortunately, if you're in a market like Nigeria, there are a lot of things working against you as well. That just a lot of challenges that you already have to face every day. So if you feel like you have what it takes, if you feel like you're willing to sacrifice, you're willing to work harder than almost anybody else, you're willing to be unusually resilient, you're willing to learn because there's a lot of learning, right? Thing about building a startup or building a company, there's a lot of things you don't know, right? But you need to keep learning every day. You can't really be a novice, right? You have to keep learning, unlearning, relearning. You have to build a strong network. You do need a strong network to succeed, right? So you have to be out there. You have to build a strong network as well. You have to build a strong team, right? For you to build a strong team, you need to have the right people management skills, right? You need to be able to get people to trust you, to work with you, to key into your vision. You might need to fundraise, so you probably need to have the right network of investors, to bet on you or convince people to invest in your startup, except you want to bootstrap, which is also fine. So these are the realities of building a startup. So if you really want to do it, then roll up your sleeves, get ready to, do the dirty work, do the hard work, wake up every day, grind 247, and then just keep going. It'll probably take longer than you expect. It's probably be harder than you expect. But if you're laser sharp focused and you're willing to do all it takes, then you have a high chance of being successful. You can still do all of these things and fail, just so you know, but it increases your chances of being successful. So yeah, that's my advice to people who are thinking about becoming startup founders. And that's the truths, cold hard truths.
Building figure, building figure. What will you say is that thing that will get you excited that yes, you've done a very good job? What will you say? What will bring to you that point of excitement or satisfaction that yes, I've been able to do a good job?
Where we become number one in Africa. So our goal is to build Figure to become Africa's largest wholesale marketplace. Until we achieve that, there's no stopping. So when it's clear by a mile that we are the largest wholesale marketplace in Africa, and maybe we become acquired by like an Alibaba, we'll say, okay, we've tried.
Oh, that's
Until then,
incredible.
yeah.
So in terms of partnerships, has partnership been able to fuel your growth?
So partnerships are very crucial. Partnerships are very, very crucial to thrive. At Figure, we have a lot of strategic partnerships that we closed and that we are currently closing. So we have different kinds of partnerships. One of them, which is very common, is logistics partnership. We are moving bulk goods, right? Nationwide, a lot of businesses are sourcing their goods on Figure, and those goods have to be moved. We're an asset-light business, like I mentioned, right? So we are more of a tech play, a data play, and so on. So because of this, we don't hold any inventory, we don't have any warehouses, we don't own any trucks or any vehicles of any kind. So we need to partner with people who have these trucks, have these vans, have these buses, and so on. So we have a lot of logistics partners today. There are also partnership in terms of like payments, payment partners. So we've closed some partnerships with some financial institutions. We're also closing some as well. So we're about to just roll out the Figure wallet this quarter. That is also in partnership with some leading and innovative financial institutions.